Hi, and David, thank you very much for agreeing for this exclusive interview for Lithuania's one and only B2B sales community, which unites salespeople and sales managers, and we all strive for a better outcome for our companies. Now, I just want everybody to know that David is behind London 2012. He was at the forefront of London 2012, and also England 2018.
Yes.
So that's quite of a track record. So I think you're very good in what is called the high stakes sales. So my first question, David, if you don't mind, is what are the keys to making such a high stakes sale? What are the key things that the one has to know?
So those two examples, both the 2012 Olympic Games and the 2018 bid for the FIFA World Cup, I think a good example is where you have to have an understanding of the bigger purpose about why you're bidding. So although they're high stakes, the Olympic Games only last for 17 days, so you need to have a bigger idea. Is it because you want to improve the infrastructure or the psyche of the nation? So having a clear purpose is really important.
So, and I've picked this up in your presentation that you were giving to the audience. I think everybody else who was pitching for the London 2012, they were showing their cities, they were showing the architecture, they were showing the nice things about the cities, and you did the opposite. I mean, was that an example of how you do a bigger picture? So, what were you selling, in that scenario?
Yeah, so you're quite right. London's opponents were choosing to talk about their cities, their infrastructure, and so on, whereas we had a vision which was about attracting young people all around the world into sport, and so that's what we focused on in our presentation. So that was an example of a bigger purpose.
So at high stakes, you can't be selling basically, a hole for the drill. You have to be selling something else.
That's perfectly put. Yeah. Levitt said, people don't want a drill bit, they want the hole. Yeah. But in fact, why do they want the hole? Because they're putting up a shelf. They want the shelf to make the room comfortable. You have to keep laddering up.
Keep laddering to the bigger picture, while at the end you want your kids to be safe.
Exactly, safe in a warm, welcoming environment. Exactly.
So the higher the stakes, the more you have to see the bigger picture.
Exactly, well put.
Of that. Okay, thank you, and I think that's very valuable. But in B2B sales, B2B sales and marketing, what do you think are the most maybe underused strategies? Things that can work but people fail to employ, in your experience?
Well, I sort of switch between B2C and B2B marketing, and it always amazes me how few B2B marketers adopt techniques that we use in B2C. So they sort of forget that it's still people making the decision. And so whether it's the use of content marketing or of how you use celebrity or PR, take a lesson from what works in B2C.
So, and I see a lot of people do this. They say, this B2C, I don't want to do this. So what you're saying is some of those or most of those techniques that are used in B2C sales and B2C sales marketing, they still apply because what? Because there's a person at the other end.
Yeah, it's not, you can't directly take the technique and apply it, but you can look for the underlying principle and think how that applies in B2B.
Okay. Could you give us just one example maybe of how, what's a B2C tactic that you could use in business sales?
In business sales, wow, that's tricky to think about that one. Yeah, that one's a bit hard. I probably could if I'd know I was going to be answer that question. Yeah.
Okay. So you say take the context and apply that. Perfect. Now, what do you think in terms of PR? So a little bit switching from sales but to PR. What's the worst mistakes companies who sell to companies? B2B sales. What do you think the worst PR mistakes they make?
Okay, so maybe this isn't the answer that you're expecting, but for me, the worst mistake is they worry too much about negative PR. And as a result of worrying about negative PR, they become very, very cautious. And to me, the skill, and I've been involved in some PR things which you would rather had not happened, But what you've got to do is accept that it raises your profile, and you've got to find a way of how you take the lemon and make lemonade. How you take that negative instance and turn it to your advantage.
So instead of running away, from negative comments, negative opinions, you must look for a way to turn that around, basically, and not shut down and be open.
Not shut down, and therefore don't be scared of using PR as a technique. That's an example of a B2C technique that I find B2B companies are often reluctant to fully embrace.
Okay, thank you. And I think that's very valuable insights for our community. Now, if you could recommend one thing for an aspiring B2B salesperson or sales manager, what would be the one thing he could do in the next 12 months that you think would give him the greatest advantage?
Seriously, one thing is to read Cialdini's book on persuasion.
Read Cialdini's books. Would that be the book you would recommend?
Yeah, definitely.
On persuasion, so setting up the environment.
Persuasion, yeah, on how you don't try and change what people think, you try and change what they're thinking about.
So you change their focus. And has that worked proven well for you also?
Yes. Yeah, okay. It's the key.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We had David Magliano live here and for an exclusive interview in Lithuania, in Vilnius, for Sales Club, the B2B community. Thank you very much, David.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.